Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and it's time to get back into reading this. Sorry about that. I was not anytime soon since the last time it was. Maybe it was a week ago. I don't even remember. But I'm just chilling out in my bed. This is part of my room, like my setup. Oh my god, I just exposed myself to being a K-poppy. Look at this. It's crazy. Yeah, anyways, Skyshade. What chapter is this? And what? Oh, so yeah, chapter 5. This is chapter 5, yes. Chapter 5, Storm. Okay. Wind rattled the windows. Rain hit the glass with the force of throwing stars. Some of it had been frozen solid. She stood, watching, listening. Even though the thick stone exterior, she could hear it now, howling. The sky had gone a strange shade. Worlds of green and purple peeked between clouds, illuminated by flashes of light. The stone rumbled with thunder. The old woman's words might usually have been enough warning to keep her inside, but the storm was the perfect cover for her own plans. Before she could think better of it, she was in her training clothes. She was in her training clothing and portaling to Wraith's specially made stable. His head had been down in boredom. He rose as she stepped towards him. He flashed his great teeth at her. Guards typically patrolled outside. Tonight, they protected the castle's exterior. The sides weren't facing the cliff against any creatures. She watched them from the windows, forming a perimeter decked in thick armor. Grimm had told her to stay inside. The palace was built well. It was secure. She needed to hurry. Wraith's dark circles. I can't read. I clearly can't read. Wraith's dark scales shimmered as he stepped out beneath the moonlight. Rain slipped down them. The weather might be good for staying hidden, but it would make it far harder to stay on. Maybe this was a mistake. Maybe it wasn't worth the risk. A memory of Oro. Oh my god, girl. You're on a mission and all you think about is the other man. Homegirl's thoughts is just consisting of this man. Everything reminds her of him. It's getting a little annoying. I'm not gonna lie. Just putting it out there. But whatever. A memory of Oro flashed in her mind. Sitting among the wildflowers, her golden rose necklace still around her neck. According to the prophecy, she might put a blade straight through his heart. She thought of the village, the ash, the ruin. As it stood, her death would be the end of everyone on this island, including Grimm. If anyone knew how to change her fate or extend her life, it was the oracles. She took a step forward. Wraith did too, as if to meet her. Would you let me ride you, alone, in the storm? In response, Wraith bent down, offering his neck to her to climb. She only made it through scales up before slipping, barely catching herself. Her heart was in her throat. She didn't dare breathe until she hauled herself onto his back. Her grip was sensitive at best. Oh my god. Oh, I lost my place. Just found it. Oh my god. She swallowed. She didn't even have to say a word. The moment her seat was secure, Wraith stepped one foot forward, another, and then shot up into the clouds. The sky raged like a battlefield. Thunder and lightning dueled, one striking and the other responding. Night seemed to shatter all over her, and the rain was thicker than it should be, striking like throwing stars. Oh my god, my intonation is really bad. Can't you know what a comma is? Read a comma? Commas. Oh my. Anyways, Isla ducked low, holding on to Wraith for dear life, fear settling in her stomach. It wasn't just the height. Something about this storm was wrong. She shouldn't be up here, not alone, not when her life was now tied to all of Nightshades. Yeah. Watch out, she shouted, as a full-size tree was launched toward them. Whoa. Wraith moved at the last minute. Careening? I have no idea what that one is. Left, and she fought to stay on. Her teeth sliding painfully together as she smothered a scream. An entire forest had been ripped away by the storm, and it circled them, flying past, riding endless winds. Wraith moved to dodge each tree, and her stomach dropped as she turned sharply upward to fly farther into the clouds. Up here, the sky changed shade. It was what she had seen shards of from the castle window. The purple-tinged clouds, the greenish tint. She tasted power on her tongue, smelt it. Like copper, like blood. Power from what? They climbed higher and higher until they were drenched in it. The air felt heavier, a light, full. Lightning struck not far. It gleamed like a bunch of fire. Wraith's wings flapped faster, shooting like an arrow through the sky, dodging projectiles. She held on tightly as he swerved. It was a wonder she hadn't slipped off. Only fear had kept her steady. Her head was bent low. Blocks of ice pounded against her arms, sure to leave bruises. Still, she held on. The purple deepened the farther they went. The green seemed to glitter. Out of nowhere, her chest began to ache. Her heart, it began to burn, as if the seams of her scar were breaking. She risked a look down, half expecting to see her shirt soaked in blood. But there was nothing but rain. Her hands wrapped tightly against Wraith's ridges. She folded over as the pain became stabbing, like a blade was carving her heart out little by little. Trying to wrench it through her ribs, she screamed. Wraith turned to face her. She could barely see the land below. It was a blur beneath them. Her grip tightened. Then a flash of light, a monstrous strike of lightning flared through the sky. It blinded them. Wraith didn't see the tree until it was too late. It crashed against them with such force, Ilo was knocked clean off his back. And then she was falling. Of course she was. But that's so weird. I wonder what's happening to her. There's a scar on her. I don't remember that. Did that happen in book 1? See, my memory is like so terrible to the point I don't even remember why her heart is. If she has a heart condition, I don't even know. But yeah, I wonder what's up with that. I really do. She screamed until her voice went hoarse and her limbs failed helplessly. The force of the air was too strong. She couldn't move her arm, couldn't pull the necklace, couldn't reach for the star stick she had tucked down her spine. Couldn't do anything as the wind howled around her and she fell alongside the rain. Her body broke through the storm, huddling towards the ground. It rushed up to meet her. With a breath-stealing thud, she was knocked back against a set of scales. Wraith had caught her on his spine, just feet before the dirt. Hands held on, and he lowered again, and she molded herself to him. Go back, go back. It was the voice of survival in her head, knowing she wouldn't get lucky the next time she fell. This was reckless, foolish. But she needed to find the oracles tonight. Grim couldn't know she was seeking them out. He couldn't know about the prophecies, especially since she might very well kill him to fulfill it. Unless she could change fate. The oracle's information could save them all. That was what kept her going. Oh, so you actually do care about this man. Oh, all that, hate and pretend. She really, she still want him to die? I mean, dying is not good. I feel like Isla, she doesn't want anyone to die in general. It doesn't matter if it's, Brim, she hates his guts. She just doesn't want people to die, her being the cause of death for other people, which I understand. But, girlie, see, he ain't that bad, because if you really hated his guts, you would have chopped off his head by now. Yeah, not gonna lie. This is a fantasy world. Anything goes. It really does. Anyways. Where was I? Oh, yeah, here. Below the ocean raged, peppered in white caps, like the sea had grown teeth. The waters between Lightlark and Nightshade were vast. Part of her knew the impossibility of finding anything out here, especially in the darkness. But Cleo had an entire armada, they would be together like a legion. She hoped she would get lucky. She hoped she was right. The storm weakened away from Nightshade, but it did not disappear completely. Would Cleo's fleet be sailing away from it? Or would they be harnessing the power of the upturned waves to get to Nightshade even faster? For hours, she watched the endless dark beneath her, waiting for any sign of the moonling, her grip never loosening. Nothing but waves. She nearly gave up, almost did. Almost told Wraith to head back. Then she saw it. White sails like ribbons in the storm, whipping wildly, hundreds of them. It was a wonder the tempest didn't swallow them completely. There. Cleo's ship was the largest. It had extra sails that were like silk. Keep circling behind her, she told Wraith. Then she slipped off his side, holding her star stick. For a moment, she was falling again, hurling through the storm. Then she was on the deck. Her knees buckled under her, her legs weakened from fighting to stay on Wraith's back. She slumped against a pillar, hiding behind it. Rain plastering her hair over her face. The wood below was white oak, crafted from the pale forest she had seen on Moon Island. Yells swirled around her. Moonling struggled to tame the sea and keep the ship ready. She needed to move. Quickly, she looked around, squinting through the storm. A light. There was a light on in which looked to be the captain's quarters. Cleo. The oracles would likely be below. Another touch of her star stick, and that was where she went. It was quieter down here. She took a shaking breath, shivering, not realizing how cold the rain had been until she was out of it. Her legs shook as she got to her feet, leaning against a barrel. She slid the lid off with a grunt. Food. Almost every barrel was filled with it. Still, the moonwings wouldn't last forever on water and fish without resupplying. What was their plan? Would Grimm allow them to get food from Nightshade? It didn't matter now. All she cared about was finding the oracles. The last time she had seen them, they had been frozen in ice. She wondered if Cleo thought them were kept entrapped. Only one way to find out. She opened every single barrel, every crate, until her arms were sore. No sign of them. She searched every inch of the hull. She considered that they might be on another ship, but no, Cleo wouldn't let anyone as important as the oracles get out of it. Important as the oracles out of her vicinity. They were above then. They were freed from their ice. They might be locked in the room. She touched her star stick, winced, wondered if she was about to be surrounded by moonlings. The room she had appeared into was mercifully empty. Waves pelted the windows, the wooden ship groaned. The space was large, luxurious even. She looked around, searching for any sign that the oracles might be staying here. The more she looked, the more she realized every part of the cabin had been meticulously crafted. The moonstone floor, expertly carved paneling. It was a room fit for a ruler. A forward groaned behind her. Before she could take a single step, the sea crashed through the window, knocking her off her feet and slammed her against the wall, trapped. Splayed, just like she had been during the Sentinel. Cleo twisted her head at her, watching with pursed lips. You must enjoy getting captured. You're so very good at it. Isla spat at Cleo's feet, and the ice hardened further, nearly choking her. And then all at once, the ice turned to water, and she fell on the floor, gasping for air. She gripped her dagger immediately, held it in front of her as she got to her feet, ready to strike. Cleo looked bored. What do you want, little wildling? There was no use in hiding it. Cleo could have killed her, and she hadn't. There must be a reason. Her teeth were chattering. The oracles. Where are they? Cleo's answer was immediate, emotionless. Dead. Dun dun dun! Woo! Of course they are. Or not, because why would she let her anywhere near them? Anyways. Something within Isla wilted. You're lying. You aren't worth lying to, Cleo said flatly. Isla had her dagger to Cleo's heart in a flash. The moonbeam barely spared it a glance. Why? Isla demanded. Her hand was shaking. Cleo only blinked. Isn't it obvious? I took their prophecies and killed them, so that I would be the only one to know the future. Fury battled within Isla. She wished for her power so she could tear the ship to pieces, so she could shatter the sky and sea like a storm. It was this dangerous anger, that serpent within her, always ready to strike. That is why she needed to keep the bracelets on. She knew that, yet still yearned for the power so she could paint the sky the shade of her endless rage. What did they say? Isla roared, knowing she was foolish for even asking, but she had to try. Cleo's smile was serpentine. So much about you. None of which I will share, of course. In a flash, the moonlight hit her square in the chest, sending her back with a whip of water. Her dagger hit the ground. A half-dozen ice blades were positioned at Isla's throat. Like a death necklace, Cleo stood above her, still amused. Fear not. Your end will come in time, but not from my hands. In time? Isla would have given eggs to know when. To know how to stop it, to know any sort of explanation or guidance or hope that the oracle was wrong, and her fate could indeed be changed. She felt so alone. The only two people she wanted to confide in were the ones she was in danger of killing. I'll give you anything, Isla said, meaning it. The anger had been put out and replaced by pure desperation. She was trembling back against the corner of the room. She had never felt more powerless, and it had nothing to do with her lack of abilities, but was the point of having any power at all when she couldn't even control her own destiny. She had never imagined willingly being at the Moonling's mercy, but for this she would beg. Please, you must want something. Tell me what the oracle said and I'll help you get it. All I want is my child back. Yes, the dead one. I don't know how that's gonna happen, or how that will fare out, because again, he's dead! Anyways, the only way to do that was to go to the other world, where souls could rise again. Getting there would require the death of all Lightlark, thousands including Oro. It wasn't an option. Cleo seemed to see it on her face because her expression completely hardened. Leave now, do not make me tempt fate. Isla gripped her polling device and obeyed. It had taken hours to get Wraith home. Portaling them both while flying with her star stick hadn't worked. She had to wait until they reached land where she could drop her puddle. And by the time they were through and reached the stable, the storm had nearly crested. Wraith rolled onto his side and fell asleep immediately. Isla shivered as she portaled back to her room, barely meeting Lynx's gaze as she snarled at her, displeased. She closed the doors to her bathroom and winced as she lowered herself into a steaming tub, the one she had once shared with Grim. Okay, I see you, girlie. Now it was just her, knees against her chest, tears slowly falling down her cheeks. The oracles were all dead. There was no one left to ask about her affair. No one left to help navigate the prophecy. There was no easy option. Each would break her in different ways. Oro was the obvious choice. Her life wasn't bound to his. Which is true. Just saying. Oh right, she can't kill him, because then she died too, and everyone would end up being dead. Which is not a good thing. Where was I? Oh my. Okay. She refused. She loved him, and even if she couldn't doom all his people and the island. Grim's death would also kill thousands, including her. Then, of course, there was the fact that she might not have long to live at all anyway. How much time did binding Grim's life to hers give her? The oracles might have known. As she tightly gripped the edges of the tub, pitching her lips against a frustrated scream that would wake half the castle. Part of her wished for her life before the sentinel, a fool locked in a glass room, thinking the only thing she would ever want was freedom. She remained in the tub until the water went cold. First thing in the morning, a knock sounded at the door. She expected to find Grim there to visit the other villages affected by the storms. Instead, she found an attendant. He stood on the opposite side of the corridor, as if afraid to get closer. Yes, you have visitors, he said. They're waiting in the throne room. She frowned. I do? Who? Your guardians. I'm sorry, what? Aren't they dead? Oh wait, no, she spared their lives. Those bitches. I was like, what? I'm sorry. Oh, Isla. And then she's gonna ask her something, and then she's gonna agree. I think. I don't even know, man. Ugh. 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 That was the end of chapter 5. I'm gonna read 6 now, because I've got the time. This might be a longer video, but whatever, I don't care. So chapter 6, Nightbane. Yes, this is chapter 6, okay. I don't know why I doubt myself on that. But anyways, chapter 6, Nightbane. The last time I saw you, you tried to kill me, Isla said. Tara only huffed in twisted amusement as she regarded her. The last time I saw you, you were bleeding yourself out for power, she cocked her head. How did that work for you? Isla might have lunch at her before. Now, after last night, she didn't bother summoning any anger. She was drained. And Tara was right. Bleeding herself out to amplify her abilities had been reckless. Still, the longer she stared at her old teacher just standing there as if she hadn't lied to her for her entire life, the more a fury built in her bones. Hating her was easy. Tara had held her limbs into flames, had abandoned her in the middle of a storm, had knocked her unconscious with the hilt of her sword countless times during training. Poppy, on the other hand, Isla watched her guard nervously, breaking her nails against her thick skirts and wanted to sink into the floor. Poppy had held her hand while she received treatment for the injuries she received while training. Poppy had hummed while making the tea filled with honeycomb. If Tara had been the blade, Poppy had been the bomb. Little bird, don't call me that, Isla snapped. Isla, Poppy corrected, her eyes starting to Tara up nervously. We can return another time if I banished you, Isla said, her voice raising. You killed my parents. You killed the last ruler of Wildling. You... Tara sighed impatiently, and the anger Isla had tried to bury came creeping back up. I did hope surviving Sentinel would make you less of a fool. The air around her changed, sharpened. The color drained from Poppy's face as she stared somewhere behind Isla. You watch how you speak to my wife in our home, Grim's voice said. Oh, wait. Oh. 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 Hey. Hey. Oh my. Okay. I gotta reread that, because... Ooh. You'll watch how to... You'll watch how you speak to my wife in our home. Grim's voice was piercing as the blade on his side. It would have made her blood go cold if she weren't the wife in question. Tara didn't seem concerned that Grim could turn her to ash without so much as a glare, as she barked a laugh. And a coward too, needing your demon husband to defend you? I'm sorry. Bro, Tara's a bitch, like straight up, like oh my god. She stepped forward, drawing her blade from its sheath. In half a moment, it was aimed at Tara's throat. Speak to either of us that way again, and you'll find you won't be able to speak at all, she said steadily. Poppy paled even further. I might have saved your life during the Sentinel, but I am not beyond ripping your tongue out of your skull. The violence of her words shocked her, but she did not backtrack. She did not shrink into herself. If Tara didn't like it, then she could only blame herself. This was who her guardian had trained her to be. Tara almost looked impressed for a moment, then she frowned. She looked tired. Her voice barely contained any acid as she said, hate us for 1,000 different reasons, but I'm putting an end to one of them once and for all. We did not kill your parents. Isla didn't know what she had expected Tara to say, but it wasn't this. She bared her teeth. How dare she lie to her so blatantly? Did she think she wouldn't do as she promised and kill her on the spot? You admitted it, she said. Tara did not deny that. She said nothing at all. Why accept the blame? It didn't make any sense. Liar. Yes, 1,000 times, Tara said. But not now. Not about this. She could She could know for certain. She could reach for Oro's flare. She had used Grimm's before. She could, with her bracelets, she couldn't. And she wasn't going to take them off, not for anything. Yeah. I was gonna burst one of these days. Homegirl keeps wanting to use, and she's like, I fear her restraining herself is only gonna make things 10 times worse, because being restrained like that, she's gonna burst one day, and it's gonna be ugly burst, and it's gonna be a lot worse than she thinks she is, that she can't control her powers now. She needs to know how to control her emotions, her feelings, in condition with the power, so only suppressing it, it's gonna be worse than her worst fear. I fear. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. I don't know. Anyways. She forced her face back to indifference. It didn't matter now. She had far bigger issues. I assume you didn't come here just to clear names. No, Tara confirmed. We came to tell you about the Nightbane. She frowned. What about it? It's dead. Dead? How much? There was a pause then. All of it. I'm sorry, how does a whole plant die? Species die? There must be some type of disease going on. How the hell is all gone? Low-key, somebody pulling strings, and my heart will be broken if it's Mr. Grimm causing this. I would literally die. I would dude, no. Plot twist, it's Oro, but I don't think so. But anyways, God. Once the dark violet flowers had made a field of star-shaped petals, Isla had stood here with Grimm, marveling at their existence. They were miracles, every single one, capable of both life and death, healing and killing. Now they had all shriveled up and died. Isla picked one from the ground and watched it turn to ash between her fingers. We salvaged what we could, Ren said beside her. It had been a relief to see the wildlings leader safe. Who's Ren? I don't remember who Ren is. Ren was obviously in the second book. I don't remember who Ren is. I don't remember who Ren is. I mean, that's what it is. Isla knew she needed to trust her people. It had been days since she had returned. Ren's leadership in her absence was a gift. The wilding told her about the castle Grimm had relocated them to, an abandoned estate with fields fit for farming and far more enough room for all of them. Grimm appeared minutes later, and Isla did not miss how Ren watched him warily. She turned her attention back to the wilted flowers. To cure any of our remaining elixirs, she told Ren. We have seeds from the Newland, right? The plant was notoriously slow to grow. For the time being, killing elixirs would be limited. Ren nodded, bowed her head, and turned to give orders. Isla studied the ground, the storm. She remembered how Grimm said it had ruined lands before. Grimm was silent by her side. She could feel his tension, his worry. It echoed her own. The destruction of Nightbane was a massive blow. The scarcity of the drug it was used to create only would intensify unrest. Many people of Nightshade relied on it daily, and without the healing elixir it made, people would die from injuries that could previously be mended. Had just lost one of their greatest assets. This had just been one storm of the season. It was just the beginning. We need to know about the origin of storms if we're going to stop them. They needed more information. She needed more information. The question was asked from desperation. She tried to keep the urgency out of her tone. You don't have oracles here, right? She didn't dare hope. She didn't dare breathe. No, he said. And she closed her eyes, fought against the rush of sadness. The closest thing we ever had was a prophet, but he died a long time ago. Prophet? His order survived, but they only speak to those who make the climb. The climb? Up to their base, at the top of the mountain. She blinked at him. You never tried? Of course I did. When I reached the top, they refused to let me in. She frowned. Grimm was their ruler, and he seemed well liked by his people. Why? My father killed the prophet. Oh. Well, that makes sense. Yeah, that makes total sense, actually. Yeah. Perhaps sensing she was going to ask him why in the realms, Grimm's father would do that. He added, he refused to share his prophecies with him. Oh, that's kind of funny. Oh my god. Her desperation was so sharp, she knew he could feel it. Maybe they'll speak to me. I'll make the climb. She said the words casually, but her heartbeat was anything but. Grimm just looked at her. It isn't a simple mountain. There are tunnels within. They shift unnaturally. There are beasts inside. The climb is a test, created when the prophet still lived. Only those who survived it were deemed worthy of his knowledge. She gave him a withering look. And you think of me incapable? He glared back at her. Of course not. The whole power is nullified in the mountain, and it's a sacred place of unusual ability, and it didn't matter. The braces said that anyway. You think just because I can't use my powers, I'm powerless? Grimm blinked at her. No, he said, looking as though he was trying to choose his words carefully. But without them, you are vulnerable. Vulnerable. Oh my gosh. Vulnerable. She hated that word, even though he was right. I'll go with you. I don't need your help. Perhaps not. I'm coming anyway. Every single person who tried to make the climb in the last century other than me has died. Your death means the death of my people. Any information they can provide about the storms is critical to us all. That she could not argue with. She shifted on her feet, considering, and Grimm just watched her leaning against Wraith. She had so many secrets. She wished he could just leave her alone. But if the prophet followers didn't allow him in, he wouldn't hear her questions. If he could help her make it to the top, so be it. Fine. Where's this mountain? And that's that, because other than that, this video is going to be really long, and I don't want it to be that long and boring. So that was chapters 5 and 6 of Skyshade. I'm a little bit more lax than I usually am because, well, we're building up, it seems like, to more, and clearly I have a ways to go. I should have just held it like this. I don't know why I held it like that. I hope you enjoyed this video, and stay tuned for more Skyshade, because I will be finishing this book. I promise I will be finishing this book. Just updates very slowly. I'm so sorry. But bye for now.